Hari Om. In the software engineering course in module 2, we are currently discussing the requirement engineering, in which we have already covered what do you mean by requirement engineering. Then we also discussed what do you mean by a requirement. Then we talked about what is requirement engineering. Then we discussed what are the different steps in requirement engineering. So the requirement engineering will have the problem statement as the input and it will produce the software requirement specification as the output. It includes these 4 major steps: the elicitation process, then analyzing the requirements collected. After analysis, the requirements must be specified in the document, which you call as documentation. Then it must be reviewed for verification process. So these are the 4 different steps in requirements engineering. So here the requirements will be collected using different strategies, then analyze the collected requirements, document the requirements as specifications, then review the requirements. Now, these are the 4 steps in requirement engineering. Now, today in this video we are going to talk about what are the different types of requirements. We often talk about requirements in the requirement engineering process. So we should understand what we mean by requirement in a software project. Then we should also understand how these requirements can be categorized, because you will have requirements, user will be specifying lots of requirements, software will have lots of requirements, system will have different set of requirements. So if so, we should understand what is your requirement. Then we should also understand what are the different types of requirements available. When I say requirement, we have already seen requirement is nothing but a feature of a particular system, or we can say it is a description of something the system is capable of doing to fulfill the system's aim, objective or purpose. Or requirement can be a capability or condition that is required from the system. So we have seen an example for each of these. Feature of the system, let me say, if you want to have a college management system, one of the features of the college management system can be called as admission process or online application. That can be called as one of the features of the system. Online application and payment can be called as a feature of the system. Or we can say a description of something the system is capable of doing to fulfill the system's purpose. If the system objective is to produce the result analysis, then what are the specifications for producing the result analysis? That can be called as another requirement. Or a capability, you can say your system is capable of generating the reports of all the students admitted to different programs. That can be called as a capability of your system. So these are called as requirements in your system. Now whenever we talk about requirements, obviously the requirements will come from the stakeholders of a system, because any system for that matter involves lots of stakeholders. The stakeholder is nothing but whoever has direct or indirect influence on the system requirements, they can be called as stakeholder. Say for example, if it is a college management system, the college management system has been influenced by students, teachers, parents, principal, non-teaching staff, So these people have direct or indirect influence on the college management system. So obviously these people become the stakeholders of the system. So in general you can say the customer of the system will be one of the stakeholders. So when I say customer here, for the college management system, you can say Chinmaya Arts and Science College is the customer of that particular system. Apart from that, end users will also be called as stakeholders. When I say end users here in the college management system of Chinmaya Arts and Science College, it will be students, teachers, principal, office accountant. They can be called as end users of the system. Or the persons involved in the organization. Say for example, if it is college management system, then the management is the executives or dean of the institution, they are all involved in the organization. So they can also be called as stakeholders of the system. So whoever has direct or indirect influence over the system requirements, they can be called as stakeholders. So obviously the requirements must be collected from these various stakeholders. So when I say requirements, these are the three different types of requirements. You can call it as known requirements, unknown requirements, or undreamt requirements. For example, the known requirements are the one something a stakeholder believed to be implemented. So stakeholder believes that this particular requirement can be implemented. For example, the customer of a college management system believes that the online application and online payment can be implemented in a college management system. He knows that this particular process can be automated in a college management system, then it becomes a known requirement. Whereas the unknown requirement may be forgotten by the stakeholder because the particular requirement is not needed by that particular stakeholder, or it is not required for the time being, then it is called as unknown requirement. For example, the one of the stakeholders is customer, we have seen. So the customer says that I want online application and online payment because it becomes the known requirement. But the customer does not know that if the online application is received, it can automatically generate a report about how many number of students have applied for a particular course. This kind of reports can also be generated. So it is not known by the stakeholder, or it is forgotten by the stakeholder. Then it can be called as an unknown requirement. In the same way, the stakeholder may not be able to think about a new requirement because he doesn't have the domain knowledge. In that case, the requirement becomes undreamt requirements because the stakeholder has no knowledge about that particular system or that particular process, so he did not mention about the requirement. Then this requirement becomes undreamt requirement. For example, the customer does not know that if there is going to be an let me say online application being submitted by the end user or the applicant, it can automatically generate an email alert or reminder for an interview to that particular candidate, right? I repeat, the customer knows the system can implement online application and online payment, so it becomes known requirement. He does not know, or he did not mention about the report generation because that may not be used by the customer. Then it becomes an unknown requirement. The undreamt requirement is the one which will be implemented, which can be implemented, but it is not mentioned by the customer because of his limited domain knowledge. An example, whenever an online application is submitted, automatically your system is going to generate an email alert to the candidate, or it is going to send a reminder to the candidate saying that this is the interview call for this particular candidate on this particular day, right? So this will be automatically generated by the system, and the customer doesn't know about this kind of automatic alert system available in a college management system. So this kind of requirements are called as undreamt requirements. Now, whenever we have these requirements, whether it is known or unknown or undreamt requirements, can be described as functional requirement and non-functional requirement. Whatever requirements are called as known, unknown and undreamt, they can be described as a functional requirement or as a non-functional requirement. Now, what do you mean by functional requirement? The functional requirement will describe what the system has to do. So, these are the product features. For example, online application is available in your system, online payment is available in your system, online examination is available in your system, online attendance is available in your system. Then these are the features of your college management system that describes what the system has to do, what the software has to do. These kind of requirements can be called as functional requirements. Whereas you have non-functional requirements also. These are mostly quality requirements, and these requirements stipulate how well the software does what it has to do. For example, most of the quality requirements, these are some of the quality requirements which we have already discussed when we talked about the quality of a system, availability or usability, how friendly your application is, how flexible your application is, whether your application is portable or not. These are some of the non-functional requirements because they are mostly concerned about the quality of your software. When I say quality of your software, for example, if your software gives appealing user interface, and the user interface can be easily understood by the end user, then you say your system is very user friendly. If it is a user friendly system, the end user need not call the developer asking like why this particular button is available, what is this button, the help is not available. So these kind of things will not be coming from the end user once it is installed in your site. So what happens now, if your application gives a very appealing user interface which can be easily understood by the end user, then you say it becomes a non-functional requirement because it improves the quality of the user interfaces. Or response time. Say for example, when you try to download something from the server, the data or the file can be easily downloaded within seconds. That means your system is having very less response time when it is interacting with the end user. Then you can say your system is a highly reliable and available system because it comes under the quality requirement. So whatever is the requirement specified by the stakeholders, these requirements can be again categorized as functional requirements and non-functional requirements. So functional requirements describes what the software is going to do, whereas non-functional requirements describe how well the software can do the features or process. That is the basic difference between functional and non-functional requirements. So your functional requirement describes what the system has to do or the software has to do, and these are called as product features. And sometimes what the software should not do can also be specified as functional requirement. And generally the functional requirements will specify what is the input, what is the output, what processing is being done, and the error handling. If that process has any kind of error, how it has to be handled, that can be that can be specified under functional requirements. And these functional requirements are generally directly related to the customer's expectations, because the customer is going to have a very limited domain knowledge and he will have a list of expectations about the software. So if these expectations are specified as requirements, then we can call it as functional requirements. Whereas the non-functional requirements are quality requirements. As I have already told you, it specifies how well the software will be doing what it has to do. So all the physical environment, say for example the equipment locations where it has to be installed and where the server is to be installed, how the local area network has to be structured, what is the architecture of the network that is available in the site. All these things come under non-functional requirements. Or the interfaces, say for example what kind of data medium that you are going to use for the college management system, whether you are going to have a database and what kind of database you are going to use, that can be called as another non-functional requirement. And then about the users, right? Who are the users and what is their skill level? If so, what kind of training is to be given to them? Whether the manuals is to be updated according to the skill level of the end users. Again, that comes under non-functional requirement. Then the documentation. This is one of the very important component that comes in a software. We have already seen software is not only the program, it includes the program, documentation as well as the manual. The documentation will specify what procedure and what are the agreements, what are the specifications that are used while developing the software, whereas the manuals will specify how the system can be operated, and what it can be what we can say, it can be used as a manual by the end users also, right? What are the different tabs available for the student user interface, and what is the feature of each and every tab, buttons, everything available in the user interface can be specified for each and every end user, which you call as the manual. So the manuals and the documents become a non-functional requirement. And all the resources, what are the resources required for developing the software as well as for using the software, this also becomes a non-functional requirement. Say for example, if you are going to have an attendance management system using the fingerprint, then you need a device for reading the fingerprint. Then that becomes one of the physical resource for your software, which is again a non-functional requirement. Then another kind of non-functional requirement can be called as security, right? How secure your system is, whether your system is having a firewall, whether you want to have a firewall or not, whether you need any kind of filtering mechanism for the internet access through the system. So that can be called as a security of the system, that comes under non-functional requirement. And about the backup, right? So backup may not be specified by the customer will be just specifying what are the different product features he wants, whereas the backup is one of the undreamt requirement which comes under non-functional requirement. The same way, what is the downtime, downloading time, what is the uploading time, what is the bandwidth you want for the web application, these kind of things can be called as non-functional requirements. Now, though you categorize these requirements as functional and non-functional requirements, sometimes the distinction between the functional and non-functional requirements will be very difficult, because take an example of security. If you take an example of security, you can call it as a functional requirement also, you can call it as a non-functional requirement also, because obviously whatever application you are going to develop, these application, one of the features of the application must be security, right? At the same time, the security becomes one of the quality of your software, so it becomes a non-functional requirement also. So some of the requirements can be called as a functional requirement, and it can also be called as a non-functional requirement. One example I quoted here is the security. Now, so what we have seen now, the requirements can be called as known, unknown and undreamt requirement. All these requirements can be again described as functional requirements and non-functional requirements. So once you have listed what are the functional and non-functional requirements, these requirements again can be categorized as user requirements and system requirements. So if the requirements are specified for the end users of the software, then you call it as user requirements, and these user requirements include both functional and non-functional requirements, and it will generally specify the external behavior of the system. And the external behavior of the system includes all the constraints, all the quality parameters, everything will be included in the user requirement. Say for example, if you have online payment is one of the requirement for a applicant or for a student to pay the fees, then it becomes a user functional requirement. At the same time, it can also be called as non-functional requirement. Why? Because you are going to provide security, and the online payment will be having lesser response time, and it can be availed from anywhere using the web application. If so, it becomes a non-functional requirement also. But in general, the user requirement will specify what is the behavior of the system, and it includes all the constraints also. So when I say constraints, how you are going to pay the online payment, whether you can use all the credit cards, whether you can have only the internet banking facility. So those kind of constraints should also be considered while developing or specifying the user requirements. Another requirement is called as system requirements, and these system requirements are derived from the user requirement, or we can say it is expanded from the user requirements. So the user and system requirements are part of the software requirement, and I can give you an example for system requirements also. Let me say if the teacher is one of the end users of college management system, and teacher says that she wants attendance management system. Okay, so attendance management becomes a functional requirement, and the quality of the attendance management system can be specified with availability or maybe with user friendliness. Then the attendance management system becomes a non-functional requirement also. Fine. Now the system requirements from the attendance management system, which is a user requirement, I am going to derive a system requirement which says you need a fingerprint reading for the attendance management system. Then it becomes a system requirement, right? So it is one of the physical equipment or hardware which you require for satisfying the attendance management system. That is why we say system requirements are generally derived from the user requirements. Or suppose, say for example, currently your system is having only a standalone software. Now this standalone software you want to convert it to a web application program, right? So that people can access it from anywhere. If this is the case, your application is currently used only by your institution inside the campus, but you want the same application to be used by the end user from anywhere, right? So I can sit from my home, and I can sit at my home and I can work for the institution using the web application. If this is the case, your system needs a web server to be installed. Then the web server has to be purchased, it has to be configured, then you call it as a system requirement, right? So that is how the functional and non-functional requirements can be again categorized as user requirement and system requirement. So in general, for any software project, first you will be listing the known, unknown and undreamt requirements. Then these requirements will be categorized as functional and non-functional requirements. Again, these functional and non-functional requirements will be categorized as user requirements and system requirements. So once you have listed all these user and system requirements, what happens? You are going to specify it in a document which you call as a software requirement specification document. Now, apart from these requirements, the interfaces can also be specified in your SRS. So, different types of interfaces we will be using. One of the interfaces will be the procedural interface, right? If you want to have any kind of programming interfaces, say for example, if I want to have an online payment facility for my software, you need to have payment gateway, which can be called as an application programming interface, right? So in general, the procedural interfaces are some kind of interfaces which will be providing some services. Like if you want to have a web application, if you want your software to be a web application, you need a web service to be installed in your machine. Then you call it as an application programming interface. Say Apache is one of the API which is to be installed for converting your machine into a web server. So these are procedural interfaces. Then you will have data structures also. So generally data structures are used for transferring the data from one module to another module. What kind of data structure you are going to use, right? How you are going to transfer your attendance from a teacher to the HOD, right? So if so, how you are going to collect this attendance data, whether you are going to collect it as an array, whether you are going to collect it as a data table information, whether you are going to collect it as a what you call field in a database table. So that has to be decided in the data structure interface. Then obviously, since we are doing the digitalization of the entire process, what kind of representation you are going to have, whether you are going to have a 32-bit data, whether you are going to have a 64-bit data, or what can be the data width for your processing, what can be the bandwidth for the network facility. All those things can be specified as interface specification in your software requirement specification document. So not only the functional and non-functional requirements, along with these requirements, the developer needs to specify the interfaces also, because without these interfaces we can't transfer the data from one module to another module, or we can't integrate the different modules that are coming for the system. So that is about what are the different types of requirements for a software requirement specification, right? We will be discussing the feasibility study in the upcoming session. Thank you.